keto might actually be somewhat dangerous in this. It might constantly dull your pain, both mental and physical. Oh man, this is getting weird. And then I put my head back down, and then I saw my own head explode. And it was like, it was loud too. I'm about ready to conclude that carbohydrates are demons, and every doctor who says fiber and carbs are good for you is wrong. I'm very close to it. All right, I'm all carbed up for the first time in 2 months, bringing you all the symptoms. I should have written them down. I did not, but I can just sort of go play by play here. Before I do, my voice is all off. That's one of the symptoms. It's like scratchy and it's hard to control, and it feels like I'm gonna have a voice crack. If I do, I'm just gonna keep going. Pitted medjool dates. This is something else I want to talk about. If you can eat carbs and you're not having these, you're wasting your life. These are like pecan pie if they were in a fruit. One little warning: if you eat them, open them all up before eating them individually as you eat them, because they're almost always pitted. But on the off chance that a small piece remains or they aren't pitted, you will break all of your teeth. The pits are somehow harder than diamonds. They are incredibly hard pits. But those, if you're a carb brain, and you're not having medjool dates, what are you doing? Come on, don't be silly. Anyway, so I've been having things like medjool dates, watermelon, prunes, dried prunes, and a shit ton of water. I've been drinking a shit ton of water. And you know what? Here's the thing. There are some benefits to this, but I don't think it's gonna, be worthwhile. But I will say, water is amazing on this. You actually feel like you're being hydrated when you're on the carnivore keto diet. You drink and you drink and you drink, and you don't feel like it does anything for you. You don't feel like it. It just feels like it goes in and out, in and out, in and out. There's no hydration, and that's because you have no glycogen stores on the carnivore diet. The sugar turns into glycogen in your muscle, stores water. You don't have that on the carnivore diet. And that probably also lends itself to the physical lethargy I feel on the carnivore diet. Carnivore, when I say carnivore, assume also keto. I mean keto. And the other thing is, I can speak faster, I can think quicker, but I can't think as accurately, and I can't speak as accurately, and I can't read as accurately right now. So on keto, I read perfectly accurately, speak perfectly accurately. My mind is calm, stable, rational. It's like a laser, right? I direct it wherever I want it. It's very cool. It's one of the probably the best things about it, honestly. But it's slow, right? So it's very interesting. It's like, you laser focus in your psyche, but it's slow going. Whereas carbs, I noticed it last night. I realized how fast I could read, like 3 times faster. I think I was like almost like the keto was making me like mentally slow, for lack of a better term. And now I can read so much quicker. I can also see faster. If you don't understand that, you don't understand that, but I can see quicker. I just can see quicker. Out of my periphery, out of everything, I see faster. I notice movement quicker. And honestly, it's a little overwhelming. So like on the keto, no anxiety, no worry. On this, last night was rough. Psychosis. The sugar psychosis. That's the other thing. So on the sugar, and by sugar I mean any sort of complex or simple carbohydrate, even like stuff like watermelon. No. That's why this is worth it, right? get to have watermelon. You get to have dates. You get to have nice, plump, juicy, pitted prunes. Oh man. The good Lord put it here for us, did he not? For us to eat, but some people are so fucked up metabolically that all this, not so good. But in nature, if I were a natural human who wasn't poisoned by modern medicine, I would be having a jam outside. I'd probably have been that one villager, you know, the villager, who made inventions so that other villagers could collect these things better, you know? I know it. I just know it. I'd be helping you all out collect your prunes. So it's wonderful, and it makes me happy, and I really want to be on this diet. But let me read you a note. I wrote down one note before I lost my mind last night from sugar, and I'm on that way already now, starting today. This banana made me hear cats while I watched my own head explode. That's not food, that's demons. This was a thought I had. I had eaten. It wasn't a banana that I ate. I think it was actually the pitted dates. But I thought better. I thought banana sounded funnier when read out. Yeah. So I had a couple. You know, I had the food I just showed you. Maybe like a handful of nuts as well, walnuts, and some hemp seed. So like literally like the most healthy things imaginable, right? And my anxiety was through the roof. I had this extreme tense feeling in my chest. I even checked my heart rate. It was actually quite low, which is rare for me. So my heart rate was fine. Healthy even. But the anxiety, bad. And then you get this psychotic feeling. And for those who have never experienced psychotic feelings, allow someone who lives in constant psychosis to maybe help paint a picture. I didn't actually think about describing this. Give me a second. Imagine, so imagine someone sticks a bunch of tape all over you randomly, and it's just strewn about so that some parts are sticky and some parts are the opposite side of the tape and they're smooth, and it's just all over you, right? So you don't know which parts are sticky and which parts are smooth. And now imagine you roll around in a bunch of dead insects, so they'll be stuck to certain parts of you, right? And now imagine you are rubbing your hands all over the sticky dead insects and just imagine what that might feel like. That's my physical representation of what psychosis or psychotic states feels like. It's just really uncomfortable. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and you're unable to predict the sensation exactly at any given moment. It's not a great analogy, but the point is it's quite jarring and quite upsetting and quite uncomfortable. I would say discomfort is the main thing. You just have a sense of unease constantly, as you might expect, covered in disgusting insects all over you. Okay? Now, a full-on psychotic attack, like real, with maybe a panic attack, then it would be like, instead of dead insects, they're alive. And also, I don't know. We don't need to go into that. Anyway, not fun. That's what I was in last night. And in fact, and because of certain pains in my eye, I have the eye pain come back. Certain pains in my eye, I had to take certain meds to fall asleep. I do not like taking these. And I never had to do such a thing on the carnivore diet. And I used to have terrible insomnia basically my whole life. I think it's because my body just doesn't like carbs. I think this experiment is going to be very, very short-lived. In fact, if I end up in that state again tonight, because it is so upsetting, especially when the anxiety and paranoia go up, I just don't think I want to be in that at all, ever. I don't want to have to experience that. It's really upsetting. No wonder I have been so bizarre my whole life. What I will say is, you're able to pull from a place in your brain that is not on when you're on carnivore. The sugar brain, I call it. It's right about here. I'm just letting you know, it's right about in there. I don't know what that is, but right in there. And it turns on. You can almost feel it come alive when you have sugar. And then everything becomes 50 times more interesting. Everything becomes more beautiful. No wonder people like doing things. They have sugar in their brain. But my brain can't handle it. On carnivore, everything feels dull, boring, and the same. And so I never do anything because it's all the same. May as well just sit down and meditate. On sugar, it provides this artificial meaning to everything, and I can attribute beauty and pleasantry, pleasant feelings to things I'm looking at, and the emotion is enhanced for sure. One cool thing that I thought would happen and that didn't. My stomach is pretty thin, pretty flat. No bloating at all. At all. I ate a lot of sugar. Way more than I should have. So, no bloating means I don't have SIBO. At least not right now. I've been on carnivore for 2 months, so it very well could be that all the microbes died off, and it takes about 4 days for those microbes to repopulate. So if I really want to test the bloating, I have to stay on this probably for 4 days or so. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to. I'm gonna do it again today, just as I did yesterday. A lot of delicious, yummy fruits, a ton of water, and I did have 1 can of tuna because I was feeling like I needed protein. So I did have a can of tuna, just one, and it had a little olive oil in it, and it was great. It was delicious, and that actually calmed me down. So from day one already, and based on because I've done this like 60 times in the past, my synopsis is the more carbs I eat, the crazier I get, the more psychotic I go. And then there's these weird symptoms, by the way. We'll get into the weird symptoms as well in a second, but I want to just talk about my overall thought. So if I eat fewer and fewer carbs, I still have some of that enjoyable aspect. Like on carnivore, I could probably have one or two of these a day and not be too bad off, right? And I might do that. I might try that. Or maybe 1 or 2 of those, or one or 2 of these, but you can't go too far. You really can't. Because then you're in carb land, you're no longer in ketosis, and then all bets are off, Then you just feel like total crap, and you gotta dip back into ketosis, and that's a nightmare. You don't want to be hanging out on that border. That border is not a place to live. You gotta be either deep ketosis or in the sugar lands. Yeah, that's just how it has to be, in my opinion. Anyway. So, let me just talk about some of the weird symptoms. Slight nerve issues. My left leg and left arm were going numb last night. Slightly numb, not completely. Just different sensation, like, I scratch here, okay, that's different. My fingertips feel different, even right now, on the left side. I've had a lot of left-sided, my surgeries and stuff, so I have known issues in my left side. It's like, this is important. I should have put this at the beginning of the video. It's like it brings all of your health symptoms that you may not even remember back up, and it turns all of them on. It like flicks all the on switches on them, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I damaged that like 7 years ago or whatever. And that happened. Whereas I think keto might actually be somewhat dangerous in this. It might constantly dull your pain, both mental and physical. Why that's dangerous is because you might be in more pain than you realize on keto. But for people like me who have chronic pain from autoimmunity, it's great. It's like a constant opiate, I realize. It's like a constant opiate. But you get some side effects from that. Your brain is slower, your body moves slower. Maybe there's a way to adapt to that over time. But I gotta tell you, it's like being on an opiate or on a benzo or something when you're on keto. Because, yeah, you're slower, but everything feels much nicer, much more calm. I just realized that was a pretty coherent rant, but if I had given you that rant last night, I would have been throwing this food around the room. I was thinking about doing it last night, just picking up the bananas and throwing them against the wall and, doing a drop down with my elbow onto the watermelon and busting it open and, just making a mess of the place and calling them demons while I did it. That's how I felt at the time, that the fruit was demonic and it was unlocking the gates of hell within my mind. So that is my take on the carbohydrate psychosis phenomenon that I live with daily. It has never gone away. It doesn't matter what kinds of nice foods I eat. If I have carbs exceeding around 56 grams, I enter carb land. And the deeper I go into, sugar land, the more psychotic I get, the harder it is to string together thoughts. The more I lose the narrative and the more I just experience the ever-changing emotion. Just the ever-changing tide of emotions that we all have. And it just takes you, because you can't think properly, so you're just swept out by these emotions. And at a certain point, if you're someone like me who likes to be rather in control of their mind, you become quite anxious because you realize you're on a trip. And that's how I'll end the video. You're on a trip. Like, when you're taking carbohydrates, you are experiencing, if you are like me, something I would very much relate to, like a not all too mild shroom trip. There's no visuals necessarily, although I did hear a cat. As I said, this banana made me hear cats while I watched my own head explode. That's not food, that's demons. So I guess you could say I hallucinated watching my own head explode. But it was with my eyes closed, so I would just call it imagining. And then I've never heard anything like that in my life. Like, I actually heard in my ear, meow, little cat. And my head was on a pillow. My eyes were closed, head on a pillow. And I heard a cat, and then I was like, what the fuck? Oh man, this is getting weird. And then I put my head back down, and then I saw my own head explode. and and it was like, it was loud too. So that's what carbs do to me. I know no one will even believe it unless you've experienced it. So why am I eating them still? Well, I paid for all this food. It's delicious. I haven't had sugar in like months, basically. And, but I mean, bananas are a couple bucks. I'm not going to throw my health away for a couple bucks. Or I'm giving it one more day. If it is as bad as it was last night, by the end of today, I'm done with carbs forever. I will swear them off for the rest of my life. However, if it's slightly less bad, might go another day. We'll see. Leaving that one up to my discretion. I don't want to go through what I went through last night. I had to take drugs to it was extreme. I'm not kidding when I say the psychosis is. It's terrible because it's you torturing yourself, and it's like your mind torturing itself, and it knows what makes you uncomfortable. And so it's like the ultimate torturer. And yeah, and then the demons. There is something biblical about it, you know. It's like the ultimate torturer. Well, that's Satan, right? And then if that's me. My brain is the ultimate torturer when I'm on carbs. So is Satan in the watermelon, or is Satan in the bananas, or are those his demons? Am I eating Satan when I eat carbohydrates? These are some thoughts to think. These are some questions you might want to ask yourself. And the other thing is, the only reason I'm able to make this video is because I had the tuna and then fasted, right? So in this video, I have no carbs in my system other than the stuff I ate, which hasn't quite absorbed yet. So if I were on carbs, I would not have been able to bring you this video in a way you could even somewhat logically, coherently understand it. Maybe my next video, if I continue this, I guess, my next video will be on the sugar. And we'll see what happens then. Like I said, delicious. But if it causes what it caused last night, and it does, not worth it. Oh, the other thing, eyes. Yes, so I immediately, even now, noticing as the sugar's hitting me, the eyes swells because I have your lens changes when you go on keto and on carbs because you have different amounts of water in your body. But it also does something bizarre to my eyes, specifically because of my autoimmunity, and it causes pain, and it the vision gets quite bad to the point where I can't use computers very much. I forgot about this. I forgot how bad it was. Everything looks blown out, too bright, and everything's like starbursty, so you can't really use computers without really giving yourself an absolute splitting headache, which I did last night. So yeah, it sounds pretty fucking horrible, right? Yes, it is horrible. It is horrible. But I gotta end the video because it's way too long, but man, there's just a lot of symptoms. I'm sure I didn't cover all of them. I had some back issues and some pins and needles in certain parts of my body, but the point is, no, there's no pleasantness to it other than the food itself. I'm about ready to conclude that carbohydrates are demons, and every doctor who says fiber and carbs are good for you is wrong. I'm very close to it. I will give it one more chance. So yeah, take care.